Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's presentation, the Secure DevOps Debate, Revolution or Evolution, brought to you by Security Innovation. Before we get started, I would like to take care of a couple housekeeping items. First off, I want to make sure you all can hear me okay, so if you would, please post a message in the chat panel to let me know. Great. If you have any questions for our presenters today, please post those into the questions panel so we can get to them after the presentation. If you experience any technical difficulties today, like the audio dropping out or the screen sharing not displaying properly, please post a message in chat to let me, the host, know, and I'll work with you to resolve those issues. Lastly, on my housekeeping list, we are recording today's presentation and will be making it available shortly after today's event concludes. Now that we are through the housekeeping items, I'd like to introduce you to our presenters. Ed Adams. Ed is a software quality and security expert with over 20 years of experience in the field. He served as a member of the Security Innovation Board of Directors since its inception in 2002 and took over as CEO in 2003. Ed is a research fellow at the Ponmon Institute, serves on the board of several IT security organizations, and was named a Privacy by Design ambassador by the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Canada. Now I would like to do a quick sound check for Ed. So Ed, if you would say hello, audience, let me know if you can hear Ed by posting a message in the chat panel.
Hello, everyone. This is Ed.
Great. Looks like everyone can hear you. Our next presenter is Roman Garber. Roman is a talented security professional with over 20 years of technical, business, and management experience covering numerous technologies. At Security Innovation, he leverages his information security, risk management, network engineering, and software development expertise to help determine the direction and vision of many of their training products, including their secure coding, knowledge base, and command control cyber range training solutions. Now I would like to do a quick sound check for Roman. So Roman, if you would say hello, and audience, let me know if you can hear Roman by posting a message in the chat panel.
Hello, everyone.
Great. Looks like everyone can hear both of you. So I'm going to pass things over to you guys to begin the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Bill. And let's get rolling. First, I'll just start by providing our contact information. Here you can see the email address for both myself and Roman, as well as my Twitter handle, which is @appsec. Yes, I got in early at Twitter. Speaking of getting in early, as Billy mentioned, I've been with Security Innovation now for 15 years. And for those of you who don't know about Security Innovation or what we do, our mission is to secure software wherever that software may exist. And we have tested software on satellites, on cement trucks, on Harley Davidsons, on mobile phones, cloud, etc. And our training platform has put more than 2 million users through it in the 10 years that it's been around. We've been named a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader for security training for now 5 years in a row. And at the bottom of the screen, you can see just some of the many customers that we've had over the years. So our agenda here, we're talking about just 3 major topics. And the way that we're going to do this is I'll be presenting a good deal of the content, and then at various points I'll bring in Roman for his point and or a counterpoint for those places where he disagrees with me. And as Billy mentioned, we're here talking about DevOps, and specifically secure DevOps or DevSecOps, however you want to call it. And we're going to start by talking about DevOps versus other software development methodologies. And then as we roll into problems associated with DevOps, we're going to have a couple of polling questions along the way, and then we're going to finish with some practices for creating resilient software. Because after all, this is what we're all in the business for, is to understand not just what DevOps is, but how to leverage it for better results. And speaking of DevOps, there are many different views about DevOps. Some think that it's here to stay. Some think that it's just the latest fad. I don't know where you sit on this, but we're going to ask you at the end. So I'm going to take a stand that it's more of evolutionary, and I think Roman's going to disagree a bit and say that it's more revolutionary. But regardless of what you think about DevOps, we are going to talk a little bit about it, and we're going to specifically talk about where security fits into DevOps. So I'll start with this one diagram here, talking about DevOps versus DevSecOps. And eventually, if you assume that security is just another aspect of software quality, then it's a logical conclusion that DevSecOps just becomes DevOps. Because whether you're talking about functional quality, performance quality, accessibility quality, or security quality, if you accept the premise that security is just part of software quality, then DevOps and DevSecOps eventually become the same thing. And DevOps, there's a lot of different definitions of it, but this is the one for me that just kind of works the best and is most succinct. It's a set of practices that automates the process between software development and IT operations, or which used to be called maintenance teams. So you can build, test, and release software more quickly and more reliably. Now, the promise of DevOps, of course, is you get out of the cycle of just tossing software over the wall to your IT or infrastructure team, who's expected to deploy it and service it and make sure it's up and running and performing well and everything works completely headache-free. And of course, that doesn't always work, as the cartoon here clearly articulates. I always do smile when I read that that cartoon, because I sort of feel like I'm the person speaking it. But another promise of DevOps is to make quality everybody's responsibility. The classic cross-functional skills team, where at every single phase you're considering quality and you're aligning nomenclature in tools and terminology, so everyone can understand, everyone's using the same language, driving off of the same metrics, measuring on the same performance. And this last bullet here, at regular intervals, the team is supposed to reflect on how to be more effective and then tune and adjust its behavior accordingly. And everyone sits around and sings Kumbaya and gives everyone big hugs. Now here's my cynical part coming out. If you couldn't tell, it was about to. DevOps, to me, is really nothing more than just the next version of the latest, hottest fad in software development. And if you start all the way on the left-hand side with the waterfall development methodology, which today is still quite prevalent, where you define it, you design it, you build it, you test it, you ship it, or you maintain it. It's been iterated and changed and tweaked over the years. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, rational unified process and capability maturity model, extreme programming, agile was very hot. And some of the tenets pulled from that: quality is everybody's job, align the teams and tools. As you fast forward, the security-specific changes for the capability maturity model, or CMM, was introduced around, I think it was 2005 maybe. The latest version is 2008. And then Microsoft came out with this thing called SDL, or Security Development Lifecycle. And what Microsoft did, if you look at this diagram below, it looks like a bunch of humpback whales. Well, that looked an awful lot like the rational unified process hump diagram to the left. Even though they were almost 10 years apart. And the agile circles that you see show up everywhere, whether it's in Microsoft SDL for agile or it's DevOps or DevSecOps. And one thing I found interesting here is in DevSecOps, they talk about security as everybody's job. And again, to me, that's just an extension of quality being everybody's job, which was introduced 10 or almost 20 years ago with things like rational unified process. And when Microsoft's SDL first came out, it was considered too heavyweight. So they made it lighter and they made it more agile with a small a. And they added an extension for agile with a big A. So the question is DevSecOps a real game changer, like a lot of folks think it is? And here, just one last diagram before I actually turn it over to Roman for his opinion. This was pulled out of Microsoft Patterns and Practices in 2007, 11 years ago. It is a security overlay to the various phases of the software development lifecycle. And it is almost exactly akin to this previous diagram all the way on the right-hand side, where you take the DevOps sort of infinity band there and literally just draw a box around it and call it security. You can present it this way, you can present it that way. To me, it's very similar. And again, this technique was first introduced in 2005 with the Visual Studio Team Systems. And 11 years ago, that diagram came out. So as you can tell, my take on this is that DevOps and DevSecOps is the same thing that we've been doing for the past 20 years, but we've updated it with a different name. We've got modernized tools. We call it something different so we can feel better about what we're doing, but I don't think it's revolutionary. Roman, what do you think?
So, I definitely must disagree here. It's very nice to talk about theory and processes, but we should also talk about practice and actual implementation and the business value that is delivered from those implementations, right? And the idea really of DevOps is not necessarily about the development process, but it's more about to deploy features and deploy fixes quickly. And to do this so that business can actually test and measure the business results, right? And this allows the business to quickly say, well, this feature is effective or this feature is not effective. And, do we want to build and improve on this feature, or do we want to scrap it and do something else, right? Now, 15 years ago when I was building transaction products, this was business wanted to achieve, right? They came to us from in develop and they said, hey, we want to, faster time to market. We want, because we're not really sure if what we're doing is right, so we want to try and test it out. And so how soon can we deliver this feature? And we laughed really loudly and we said, well, we have to build requirements and we have to do all this proper stuff. Sure, yes, this is the goal that we wanted to strive to 20, 30 years ago, but to say that this is just an evolutionary development, I think is an oversimplification from really kind of from a higher up, from a management perspective, right? So sure, you can raise any concept to a high enough level so that everything becomes really the same, right? But I would ask, from the management side, how do you think one can actually deploy this theoretical concept, right? This theory of RAD or any of those, any of the software methodologies you mentioned. How do you deploy this concept from 20 years ago or 10 years ago into 500 developer organization, right? And this is what DevOps is about, right? So sure, it builds on Agile. Sure, it has certain concepts, right? And sure, of course, at a high level, we want to deliver software faster and have it high quality. But the fact is that only now with DevOps we are able to achieve the scale of this concept to a large enterprise, right? And have a large enterprise release 20 or 20 times a week, right? Or 10 times a day, or so on. And to me, that is truly revolutionary, right? That is really something. We have a large enterprise doing that. That is, that is really something, right? And for those 10 releases per day, for a security professional, for myself, it's really hard to grasp, right? When I first looked at this, and I said, well, wait a minute, oh my God, how am I going to review all those releases, right? What am I going to do? I'm used to kind of sitting down and saying, okay, we have a release. Now I have a week or two to review it, make sure everything is secure, and so on. So this is kind of, wait a minute, what am I going to do now, right? So sure, of course, automation helps, but the automation only catches so much, right? There's only so far I can go, and this is really where DevSecOps comes in. It's not just to automate, but it's really to integrate, right, into every part of the cycle where you have a security-minded developer, security-minded operations personnel, security-minded architects, kind of security practitioners or security-aware people or that are part of the development lifecycle, and when it's really they call on those engineers. They have the ability to call on security engineers or security experts when they need to, right? When they need to make security decisions. And this is very different from this sort of traditional gatekeeper approach where you say, oh, okay, now we throw it over to security and let security review it. When I was working for government, we built for City of New York. We built this accreditation process, and ideally, in its theory, in its form, it was supposed to be this nice kind of side by side where security works with development, and we help the development and architects to create more resilient, more secure software, deliver secure applications by partnering with them, so that we would have these touch points throughout their development process where they go and they talk to us and we talk to them and all that stuff. And in reality, what happened is that they just throw it over the fence and say, well, now you review it, or we'd get a firewall request and we'll say, well, here, we need to open port 443 tomorrow, and we were like, well, wait a minute, what is this application? What does it do? We didn't review it. We don't know what it is. And security at that point became a bottleneck, and everybody pointed at security and said, oh, you guys are not letting people do you kind of innovate. You're not letting applications through. So DevSecOps is, again, a partnership of everything, so that of every piece of organization, so things like that do not happen, right? So, and to me, that is kind of revolutionary. So that's my take on it, right? So that's
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If it can finally break down that wall between the security team, which tends to be more on the operation side, and the development team, then it would be revolutionary. So I hope you're right. I'm still a little bit skeptical. But let's see where our audience is. So this is our first of a couple of polling questions, and the question is, where are you in the process of rolling out secure DevOps? Are you just gathering information? Are you starting to implement? Are you in optimization mode? So please select one of those three, hit the submit button, and then when everyone is done, Billy will return to the slides and let us know what you all voted on. Now, here at Security Innovation, we also build software products. So we also talk a lot about building software in terms of sprints, using agile methodologies and Scrum Masters, and integrating security at each phase in every single sprint as part of software quality. So I would actually say that we are that we're starting to implement here at Security Innovation. I don't know if we're in optimization mode or not, but Roman, you're a practitioner. I'm just the pointy-haired boss manager. So what would you say about Security Innovation's product development lifecycle? Where do you think we are?
I think you're right on that. I think we're starting to implement. We're trying to take the best of kind of every approach, and we're trying to create these methodologies and create the synergies between different the different parts of the organization, so actually roll things out quicker, sooner, and
yeah, it's not easy, that's for sure. I mean, it takes a lot of discipline getting alignment. So, okay, Billy, have we collected all the poll results and we're ready to return? There we go. Okay.
Results.
All right. So the results, here we go. 65% are in gathering data phase, and then 18% starting to implement, 18% in optimization mode. So that's really interesting. So we've got 2/3 of our audience that are still gathering information about secure DevOps, and then 1/3 are either in optimization mode or just starting to implement. So good for you, the 1/3 that is in there. We join you from Security Innovation. Okay, so back to our slides. Next, we want to talk about problems created and or solved by DevOps And for that, we're going to use yet another cartoon, comic strip here. This one, I believe it was something that Roman found, and also something that always makes me laugh. So I'll just give you all a moment to read it. I particularly love the one about how the engineer designed it. I mean, that is such a clever design. Who wouldn't want to swing right through a tree, right? So cool. And of course, how the project was documented. Crickets. This describes so many software development projects that I've been on. Unfortunately, way too many, but still a funny comic strip. But one thing that this goes to show is that there is a significant misalignment even within the software development team. You know, Roman and I were both talking about misalignment between the software development team and then the IT operations and security teams. But there's also, you know, terrific misalignment in some cases within the software development team itself. So here, a couple of data points talking about misalignment. So there's one that was taken from the State of DevOps report that was published by Puppet that said 64% of C-suite respondents believe that security teams are involved in technology design and deployment. Yet, only 39% that are actually designing and deploying it agreed and believed so. So talk about misalignment. You know, the pointy-haired bosses like me, you know, 2/3 of them think everything's great and security is involved at each phase, yet only about 1/3 of the practitioners feel the same way. And you know, as organizations evolve, you know, per this last point here, security policy does become part of operations. So it becomes integrated, and but it does require that breaking down of boundaries between the software development teams, the IT operations teams, and the security teams. And that was again published right from the Puppet report, 2018 State of DevOps. Another funny image found by Roman that I will share with you all. Left-hand column, you know, as seen by, and then the columns are the roles: developers, designers, project managers, quality assurance, and clients. And then each role is how they're seen by each one of those phases. And as you go from top left to bottom right on the diagonal, of course, it's all, you know, wonderful stuff. It's you know, superheroes and the most interesting man in the world. But as soon as you get outside and take a look at, you know, what you know, project managers view developers as, you know, just commoditized, you know, hard labor factory workers, etc. Again, just another funny comic just to show how there is real misalignment in the teams. So the question that was asked, you know, is where is this disconnect and why does it exist? And another report that we're quoting here is the 2018 Application Security Report from Cybersecurity Insiders. And I do believe we'll make this report available for everyone for download. It's chock full of data just like this. And this one particular question was asked, what secure development initiatives do you currently employ? And as you can see, less than 40% are doing security code reviews at code check-in. Only about 1/3 are rolling out a role-based security education program. And 18% are doing nothing at all. So, you know, again, the premise of secure DevOps, or rather a requirement or a gate you have to pass through in order to achieve maturity with secure DevOps, is to get alignment and make sure that each role, each job function understands what they're supposed to be doing with respect to security. Well, how can you do that when 2/3 of the companies are not rolling out job-based security education? It's a virtual impossibility. So next question that we'll debate here is, what is the primary value of secure DevOps? Is it improving overall security? Is it getting software released sooner with minimal risk? And in most software development teams will tell you that they are measured on throughput, how quickly they can get the features out the door that they're supposed to. But I actually argue that the primary value of DevOps in general, and secure DevOps specifically, is better quality. And better quality in time will increase throughput because you've got fewer defects and you've got fewer patches that you have to rework, which means you have more time to focus on building features. But I do think that it does take time. And I always view this akin to a J curve in terms of investment, where you make an investment and you dip into negative profitability, but then over time, as you see the returns on your investment, your profitability increases and brings you even further than where you were when you started. I sort of view an investment in DevOps as the same, with the primary value being better quality. Roman, what do you think about that?
So, I mean, I kind of disagree. I think, the primary driver for DevOps and is more of a business side, right? And really, it comes down to that there are universal realities of life that apply, not just to building software, but in particular, we'll talk about how they apply to building software. And that is that, you never know something until you try it, right? And also, life is what happens to you while you're busy planning it, right? And from the software development perspective and kind of the business perspective of software development, this is why you need faster time to market and faster releases, right? Traditionally, you have this kind of 4 months, 6 months, whatever, 2 months release cycle of software. So as a business person, if I need to wait 2 months or 4 months for my feature to go to production, and I'm not really sure if this feature is going to work or not. I kind of want to, test it out, maybe see how the market likes it, how the customers like it, get some feedback. If I get this feature into production, I need to wait 4 months or 2 months. It just doesn't work, right? So I need that. The answer here is really, to release early and release often. And sure, this is not really new, right? I mean, startups back in the 90s did the same thing, right? So when I used to work for a 6-person startup as my first job, we used to do all sorts of things. Like developers used to be on production environments. We used to release kind of features as they came out. We broke stuff. Absolutely, we broke stuff, and we fixed stuff. And it was this whole kind of DevOps cycle. And my job was a DevOps engineer, which didn't exist back then, right? I was called integration engineer back then. But it was basically kind of doing operations and development at the same time, like working together with both worlds. But the truth is that we were doing it, right? And the idea was because the business wanted to get things out there, right? We were a new startup. We needed to test things out. We need to make sure that it works. And if it doesn't work, we pivot and we do something else, right? So that's, I think, is the ultimate goal of DevOps. And today is what you really have with DevOps is you have this scale that you take the processes or the things that worked for a startup in the 90s and you scale them up to a large enterprise, right? So what is, again, we go back to revolutionary things, is that what is really revolutionary is the fact that enterprises like Target, like Ryanair, like Reuters, they can all go and start on this DevOps journey, and they can scale this agile sort of a startup, 6-person startup development methodology into a large organization. So that's kind of my take on this here.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I didn't come from the software development world. Originally I came from the mechanical engineering world, and from there I entered the software world. And in mechanical engineering, there is a very sort of rigid process that one goes through from definition of the product that you're trying to build, to designing it, and testing the design, and then building a prototype and testing the prototype. And it's not until the very, very end that you call it done. So the concept of something like DevOps in that world just would never work. And maybe I'm just hanging on to that too much. I don't know. But let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that I think DevOps can create. And this is one thing that I've seen this in a few organizations where DevOps talks a lot about automating. However, there's a temptation to over-automate and over-rely on tooling. And what does automation generate? It usually generates data. And when you have too much data, you can drown in data. In fact, the only reason that SIMs were created was to help us stop drowning in all of the data that we're generating from our firewalls and our DLP systems and our antivirus systems. So we need tools to help us when we over automate. And I think DevOps secure DevOps in particular has a potential to jump into that pitfall. And I think you've also got a little bit of jack of all trades, master of none challenge here, because you can dilute security knowledge if you're asking everyone to learn a little bit about security. Where is that the software engineer that really understands about performance and understands protocol optimizations and things like that. So that's a challenge that I think folks have to be a little bit careful of. And then, of course, my favorite here is when quality is everybody's job. That means that it can always be someone else's job. And I think that's a real risk with secure DevOps that the folks have to be careful of. I'm a big fan of ownership and accountability, and I'm just worried that a lot of organizations are going to get themselves into this cartoon picture here, where they just figure out how to make it someone else's job all the time. So, but let's talk about some good practices. Won't necessarily call them best, but some good practices for creating resilient software. So the next question for us to debate is DevOps and secure DevOps. Is it more about the tools, or is it a mindset and a culture change? And Roman, I'm going to say here that it's all about the tools. But because to me, the mindset back in 1998 is similar to what it was in 2018. Like you said, you were working for a 6-person startup. You were called a security integration engineer, but you were really a DevOps engineer. So we've been doing it for a long time. And I think the things that have changed is the technologies and the tools that we've used to implement it. So I think it's all about the tools. You?
So, I mean, I think it's all about the mindset and culture, right? So traditionally, yes, of course, in a small organization, you have everybody do everything, especially in a 6-person organization. But if you scale it up to a big corp, right, traditional kind of your big corporation, what you find is you'll start fighting silos. So you have a development silo and a security silo, an operations silo, and a business silo. And each of them do their thing, right? They all, I do security, and these guys do development, and no, these guys do operations. So actually, when I moved, when I went from my small startup into a big corporation, this was kind of a shock for me, because things that I used to kind of do automatically, like, oh, I just log into a production box, here we go, and we check out and we get the logs. Well, I couldn't do that anymore, because there's now these processes, and now if I need to log into a production box, I need to fill out the whole request form and wait 2 weeks until it gets approved and all that other stuff. And so that's kind of a big issue. And what DevOps does is it breaks down these silos, right? And it makes a company a whole more agile, right? It makes so no developer in a DevOps model can say, oh, I am only a mainframe developer and I only do COBOL. I don't do what's this in JavaScript, right? I don't understand that, right? And and the operations team, they need to script things, and they need to understand at least some of development functionality, development languages, and developers need to know more about the environment they're deploying in. Like, they can't just go and say, oh, you know what, we'll just build it here, it works on my machine, right? And I don't know why it doesn't work in production. We have a QA environment that's almost same as production, and we tested it and it works. And of course, it never is the same, right? So when I moved to the big corporation, I found that, wait a minute, like, we have a development environment, but the production environment, I have no idea, because I never seen the production environment, right? Because it takes me 2 weeks to get into a production box. So and when you actually have these silos broken down, you kind of realize that now everybody's equal. Now everybody is a partner. Everybody kind of works together, and especially from the security side. So yeah, security is everyone's job, but it's not just that it's everyone's job. It's that everyone is security minded, I would say. Of course, you still have security engineers and experts in security, but the developers, they have to be educated enough so when they see a security decision that they're making, they either think like sort of from a perspective of, how would I make the best decision? What, if I was an attacker, how would I kind of attack this, and how would I break this, and think of it from that perspective. But at least that they should be kind of knowledgeable enough to call on the security person and say, hey, we're having this issue. What do you think? Like, how do we, and that creates a synergy, right? And the slide earlier where everybody says namaste and sort of sings a happy song. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of all about it, right? This is not about a silo and I just do this thing. This is about, okay, we're all a family, we're all a team, we're building this product together. And if to do it on a large scale in an enterprise, I think that's something that requires a really mindset, real culture change, and embracement of this kind of overall mentality that we're all a team. So that's my thought.
Yeah, no, I can't tell you how many times I've heard it works in the debugger, and it brings me right back to that image of one role as seen by another role. And
right.
So if DevOps can help address that, then that's a great thing. Now, here are some areas where continuous and iterative assessments and secure DevOps can be realized. And again, if you just break up the 5 major phases and fully understand that in agile process, these are all happening sometimes on a daily basis. But securing the design by reusing components, that's a big one. And don't ask your development teams to go and build an authentication library every single time you need one. Build a single authentication library and have it be reused by all the different teams, or even across different teams, across different projects. Similar with security code reviews. I remember the day when you'd start a static analysis security test tool scanning a code base, and you just let it run, and you go off and get lunch, or sometimes just check in on the morning because it took that long to churn through the code base. I've definitely seen some tools lately where you can scan code before it has to be compiled. You can have continuous integration, so every time you check in code, it automatically kicks off the scan, and that allows you to for the humans to use their brain more and focus more on hotspots where you can't automate the scan. Business logic flaws or things like that. So these are the areas where I think it can be really, really useful. I'd love to get a little bit of your thoughts, Roman, on how you would do some kind of alignment between, say, the development team and the operations team with respect to code. I mean, do you train some of the IT operations folks on software development 101? I mean, how do you facilitate that environment? You've got IT folks that typically don't write code. So how do you get them sensitized to what the developers are doing and what the developers are rolling out?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I mean, I think it is important to do this kind of a cross-training functionality, right? There's some organizations have, like, be this person for a day type of training, right? So all of a sudden you're an IT person and now you're a developer for a day or a week. So you kind of trade roles, and you learn what it is like to be a developer, what it's like to what their processes is, how they check in code, how they review code.
The old immersion tactic, right? I mean, don't
yeah.
What's the Native American saying? Don't judge a person until you've walked a mile in their moccasins. So it's all about immersion. Okay, I get it.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, great. Well, I do want to talk a little bit about threat modeling before we get back into our next sort of debate question. And the reason that I bring up threat modeling is because, and we're big believers in threat modeling here at Security Innovation, but most folks don't realize that they threat model every single day, and they do it almost subconsciously. When you leave your house, do you close your front door? Do you lock your front door? Do you have an alarm on your house? And that's all sort of threat modeling. You're doing it to prevent a bad thing from happening, and that's really what threat modeling is all about as well. But keep in mind, threats are not vulnerabilities. Threats are things that are persistent. They live. It's like the potential of a burglar breaking into your house. And again, in each separate phase, you can do some threat modeling. So as you're defining requirements for a software application, you might ask a simple question. Threat modeling is all about asking questions. So a single question might be, hey, do we need single sign-on here? Do we have MFA, multi-factor authentication, etc. And at each one of these phases, you can continue to ask those types of questions. Like acceptance testing, you can identify risks associated with outsourced software development, or you can supercharge service level agreements. So threat modeling, again, at each one of the phases of software development lifecycle, there's some value to it. And we've got lots of assets on threat modeling. We've got webcasts, white papers, all that sort of stuff. So I won't take up too much time on it, but I do want to plant the seed about threat modeling, something for you folks to think about. And in each phase of the software development lifecycle, I think it can provide a lot of value. So our next debate question here is, if you are blank, then you have not implemented or realized the benefits of secure DevOps. So this is kind of like the old match game, for those of you that are old enough to remember the match game. So what I say is, if you're most organizations, then you've not implemented or realized the benefits of secure DevOps. And that was actually proved true in our poll question, the very first poll question that we had, in which 2/3 of folks say that they're just in the data gathering phase. So like most organizations, you're not there yet. And I still feel like DevOps is kind of like, when folks talk about moving to the cloud, everyone's talking about moving to the cloud, but very few folks have actually done it so far, especially with respect to application development and application deployment. So, secure DevOps to me is nothing more than building resilient, quality conscious software. But I still think most organizations are not implementing the benefits of it. And Roman, you say if you are blank, then you have not implemented or realized the benefits of secure DevOps. What's your blank?
Yeah, so I mean, I want to actually piggyback on the threat modeling a little bit on this, and if you're doing threat modeling and to your household analogy, you're basically asking yourself a question. If I am, when you lock the doors automatically and you lock the windows, you're subconsciously asking yourself a question. If I was a burglar, how would I get into your house, right? And you're putting that mindset on and putting that hat on, and sort of to answer this question, I think this is how you approach secure DevOps, right? So if you're not, if you're exposing your customers or your partners or whoever you deal with to unacceptable level of risk, then you're not doing DevSecOps, right? Now, the reason why you would be doing DevSecOps is because you want to build features, right? You want to build features that are fast. You want to build them based on anticipated value to the business. And if they deliver, great, you roll them out to a wider audience. If they don't deliver, you fail fast. You learn the lessons. You move forward. So if you're not building features fast, if you're not measuring their value, if you're not keeping or throwing, you're not doing DevOps. But at the same time, you cannot jeopardize any of the anything that your customers entrust you with, right? So you cannot jeopardize, you cannot put them to a level of unacceptable risk. Because if you're doing that, well, then all you're really doing is you're pushing through the you're just pushing through kind of the features, right? You're really sort of cracking the whip and saying, okay, yes, we need this new feature, we need this new feature, without sort of doing the whole process and making sure that there's no unacceptable risk, right? So to me, I think it's the kind of having everything together, right? Where you're actually pushing features fast, at the same time you're not jeopardizing anything, you're not exposing any new risk or any acceptable levels of risk. That's for that you're really doing DevOps and DevSecOps. And if you're not doing that, then yeah, I mean, I guess based on our poll questions, and a lot of people are not there yet, but it's a very nice goal to strive to, I think. And I think if we all get there, at least we have it as a goal. At least we have it something to move forward to. Just like everybody moving to the cloud, right? Not everybody was moving to the cloud 5 years ago. Now a lot more people are actually moving to the cloud and are actually implementing things in the cloud, or at least new things are implemented in the cloud. So, it's a very good goal to strive to, I think.
That I do agree with, for sure. Another good goal to strive for is building security champions. This is one thing that we've seen be very successful at organizations, and you can even be successful with just a single security champion in an entire team. But what it essentially does is it helps to clearly define goals, roles, and responsibilities. And it could be everything from investigating bug bounties to building threat models, like we've just been talking about over the last few minutes. But ideally, what you've got is a person who is knowledgeable and passionate about security, and they don't have to be the most sophisticated hacker. They just need to have a drive and a passion and a willingness to get their hands dirty, so to speak, and understand how all of the other team members need to relate with respect to security. And this is one role, again, that we've seen just be so successful. It doesn't have to be a full-time dedicated role, and you can be a practitioner as a developer, as a database administrator. But if you've got that security passion, or the taste for the blood, or the desire to be the security lead, it will reap a lot of benefits for your organization. So again, another best practice to keep in mind. And building security into the software development lifecycle does work. This is straight from Microsoft's data. Again, it's a number of years old at this point, but they actually went through the process of measuring the total number of security vulnerabilities that were disclosed in products before they put their team through secure development lifecycle training, and after they put their team through secure development lifecycle training. And as you can see, there's been a lot of improvement in both the operating system team as well as the SQL Server team, both before and after the training. And there's still the only organization that I've known that has gone through and actually measured this, which is pretty impressive. Okay, so final debate question, Roman. What do you call it? Do you call it DevSecOps? Do you call it DevOpsSec? Do you call it, what do you call it?
So to me, it's same but different, right? I mean, you can really nitpick, and you can say, well, if it's DevOpsSec, then this really means that we're doing development, then we're doing operations, then we're doing security, and that's kind of implies that security is an afterthought, and that's not really a good thing. If you're doing DevSecOps, then it kind of may mean that you're doing development, then you're securing it, and then you're kind of putting into operations. So again, like for me, being a security professional, that's kind of well, maybe not. That security should always come first, and that'll be my thing. So obviously it's DevOps because, well, security has to come first. But that's really big nitpicking, and to me it doesn't really, it's not important what do you call it. It's ultimately, as long as you as long as the risks are under control, as long as you're not exposing customers to any additional risk, it's the same thing, right? It's whatever. It's a nomenclature. It doesn't really matter as long as everybody understands what it is. So yeah, I think it doesn't matter. Same thing.
Well, Roman, here's one where we can agree on. I agree with you completely. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. It's all different. Doesn't matter what you call it. Just do it right. So in summary, I want to talk about just 3 main points. First of all, software security really is everyone's challenge. I'm not going to call it problem or job, it's their challenge. And at every single step, you will either introduce or mitigate some level of risk. And if you just keep that threat modeling mentality, that risk-driven mentality in mind, then your move toward secure DevOps is going to be a little bit easier. Secure DevOps can absolutely solve some problems, whether it's cross-functional teams not having enough knowledge, whether it's security slowing down the development throughput, like Roman was saying, And then finally, the success of DevOps relies on automation for sure. It still relies on humans doing what humans do best, which is inspecting and analyzing things that automated tools like scanners cannot. And then it's balance. It is, again, that kumbaya, namaste, I bow to you, balancing your processes, your knowledge, and your tools, because they are three pillars of a secure software development lifecycle. Now, last question for our audience, polling question. What do you think? Is DevOps evolutionary or is it revolutionary? So the polls will now be open. And as we are going through this, please choose one. Do you think it's evolutionary or revolutionary? Basically, do you agree with myself on the evolutionary, or you agree with Roman on the revolutionary? Roman, I think you've done a great job convincing me that it might be a little bit more than just evolutionary. There might be something to this whole DevSecOps thing. I mean, I'm still going to be a curmudgeon about it and still say that we've been telling people how to write secure software for 20 years and no one's listened to us yet. But maybe this thing does have legs after all. Billy, oh, sorry, go ahead, Roman. You're going to say something.
No, I was going to say, let's see what what the polls show. I wonder what everybody else thinks. Yeah.
All right. Wow, pretty close. 58% say evolutionary and 42% say revolutionary. That was pretty close. All right, Billy, back to the slides. Okay, there we are. All right, so back to maintaining secure DevOps skills. Roman, I'm going to kick this over to you. It's talking about cyber ranges and the job shortage. So let me just have you talk to this, because again, as a practitioner, this is your wheelhouse here.
Great, thanks, Ed. So I mean, it's no secret to anyone that there is a great shortage of security professionals, and there's a prediction that there's going to be 3.5 million professionals, shortage of professionals by 2021, and there's various initiatives to close that shortage. I mean, I know there's security is being taught now to elementary school kids with the hope that when they grow up they actually become security professionals. Now obviously that's a little bit of a too long of a cycle to wait, so we kind of need a way, and we need a way to figure out, well, how do we leverage what we have now and kind of try to close that gap. And this is where cyber ranges actually come into play. And cyber ranges, for those that are not aware, it's not really a new thing. It's been used by the military for ages, and it's where basically you have a simulated environment of computers and software and attackers, and where you simulate certain attacks or you simulate certain vulnerabilities, and you try to train your personnel, train your people to be able to prevent these vulnerabilities and to be able to respond to these attacks. And it's really similar to, if you think about flight simulators in the early days of pilot training. So in the early days of pilot training, people would just get on a plane and try to fly a plane. And obviously, that's not such a good idea as if you've never flown a plane before. And there was a lot of crashes, a lot of issues. And so the industry came up with the flight simulator, which is basically they put you in a simulator. And yes, if you do something wrong, the red button will beep and it'll say error or something like that. But nothing bad is really going to happen. And this is really what the Cyber Angel is all about, right? It's a training platform. It's a simulated training platform in such a way that you immerse yourself into a particular set of challenges that you need to find, and as a result, you're being trained to be a better developer, a better security professional, and it really works all across the ways, right? It's not just for security professionals, it's not just to train security professionals. It also works great for developers, and we just mentioned DevSecOps, and kind of security is everybody's challenge, and through these cyber ranges, you can enable the people who are actually developing the software, actually creating the software, to be part of the solution to that challenge. I want to talking about security champions. I want to talk about quickly about a story of a customer, one of the customers. How they sort of discovered the security champions in their own organization, and how they found it. So we actually, and I'll talk about it on the next slide, but we actually make security innovation when we make a command and control cyber range. And our customer, they actually ran the cyber range internally. They had this whole event where it was kind of a competition. And there were people from security in that event, and there were developers, and then there were just engineers and kind of technical people that are not necessarily developers. And there was one woman in there that never been part of security, never kind of considered security, and she won, or I think she made it second place or something like that. And she basically said, well, wow, I didn't realize I did so well, because I kind of, I just like this thing. I realized I actually like security. And what happened is that people in security for the customer, they actually offered her a job in security, and she realized that this was her passion, and she wanted to do this all along. So this is how you kind of find, undiscovered talent in security. I also, another story, I ran this as a community event recently, with kind of just and we do these community events at Security Innovation. We'd run OWASP events, and where kind of various other security related chapter events. And I ran this one of the events, and there was a woman in there, and she was an elementary school teacher. And this was the first time she actually viewed source on the page. So when you open a browser, you click view source, and this was the first time she actually looked at the HTML code. But she came in second, and she said, well, wait a minute, I've never done this before, but I love this. And I was like, well, maybe you should consider this as a career, because you may not have the skills, but you obviously have the mindset. And it's really important to discover the people that actually have that security mindset. They may not know what cross-site scripting is. They may not know exactly what kind of all the vulnerabilities are, but it's really important that to have that mindset. And if you discover those people, maybe it's a good idea to kind of move them along the lines of security training. That's that. And I really want to talk about what command and control is, and kind of how it works just a little bit. So when we're using traditional training, we found that kind of participants are not really enthusiastic in learning about security issues, right? They tend to go through training more to tick the box than anything else. And the overarching goal of command and control, the cyber range, is to help organizations be more resilient to security attacks, which includes like building secure software. But we take a different approach from the traditional training to achieve this goal. So in command and control, participants play the role of an attacker, right? And they get to understand what it's like to look for and find vulnerabilities, but most importantly, they get to see firsthand the impact of insecure code. When I have a developer go through this and discover vulnerability, and they go, "Oh wow, I didn't know you can do that," that's really the reaction we're going for. And of course, they do this in a safe and friendly and slightly competitive environment. But what most of our clients actually find that after participating in command and control, players gain this new appreciation for application security, and actually want to start learning more about security, and have kind of this renewed enthusiasm to do whatever is necessary to prevent vulnerabilities. Also important that our solution.
This is that whole immersion thing that you were talking about earlier. This is how you get developers and IT operations folks aligned on the same page. Is show them how software is abused, and immerse them, throw them right in there in a safe sandbox, and have them experience it. So in the interest of time, because I know we're right up at the top of the hour, I do want to roll forward to the last couple of slides or so. So any last comments you've got on application security cyber ranges?
No, I think I just want to point out that this is something of realism. It's the people actually feel like they're attacking a real application, so that's whole immersion, that the kind of a simulator experience. So yeah, let's roll forward.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so like Roman said, you covered all of this really in the last slide or so, but the cyber range really provides that aha moment where it's an eye-opening activity because you are experiencing that really cool, sexy part of security, which is the hack. And hacking is very interesting. Folks really enjoy getting their hands on the keyboards and trying to take down a database or break into a bank and do it in a legal, safe sort of way. But it gives you this really great instant feedback where I think it was Benjamin Franklin said something like, teach me and I forget, involve me and I learn. And that's really what Cyber Ranges are all about. But to complement Cyber Ranges, Security Innovation also has over 100 online training courses by role, by technology. If you're interested in finding out more about this, just let us know. One last question, one last note before our questions. We do have a Hack the Holidays event coming up for 10 days, December 21st to January 4th. You can participate in the Command and Control Application Security Cyber Range for free for 10 days. All you have to do is send an email to getsecure@securityinnovation.com, and we'll send you back the login credentials. And with that, let me open it up to see if we have time maybe for one question, Billy. What do you think?
Yeah, we can do one question.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. So it looks like probably the biggest question here is, where do you see DevOps going? And Ed, would you like to answer that?
Sure. So DevOps, like I said, Roman, I think you've convinced me that DevOps is different enough that it's got some teeth, it's got some legs, and where it's going, I'm going to say it's going mainstream. I think we're going to get more than those 34% of folks that are either in just an implementation stage or optimizing it. I think that number is going to flip to probably 2/3 by this time next year. So I think it's going mainstream is my answer. All right, Billy, let me turn it over to you to wrap up here.
Great. Well, I would like to thank Ed and Roman for a great presentation today. I'd also like to thank today's sponsor, Security Innovation, for providing the audience with a great webinar presentation. And lastly, thank you to everyone who attended today. We hope you learned something new that will help you in your developer career. Have a great day, and we will see you next time.